welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Joy of NFTs. Today we have a super exciting episode because it's an all female episode with artists, community members, and collectors from the NFT community. If it's your first time joining, this is a show where we get a little glimpse into the creative process of different artists, and we provide a platform for a variety of up and coming artists, maybe big artists, or just undiscovered artists that are within the NFT space. And we're also going to open up the conversation with the community members and collectors that have been a part of the journey of a lot of these artists. So, without further ado, today we have Lisa Oded. She's a 2D, 3D animator artist in the space based in Spain. And we also have Imani LaRusa with us. She is a motion graphic artist, also director and animator. And we also have Kate the Curse. She is a collector, but also a multimedia artist and a curator. And we also have Sabrina with Crypto es Cultura. She is part of the community and she'll be kind of telling us a little bit about what she's working on. So, thank you everyone for joining. This makes me so happy to see all females in the room. And I've talked with each of you briefly, and I know how much passion you have for the space. So, I think this is going to be a really, really good one. So, Sabrina, I know that you help educate and promote Spanish speaking artists in particular that maybe don't have maybe that have the language barrier and don't understand everything NFTs just because that they don't speak English. So tell me a little bit about, how did you get into the space, and then about, your platform or what you do.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. I'm Sabrina, and yeah, so I started a year ago, more or less, into. I started in crypto to just learn about it. A friend got me into it, and then this summer I started knowing about NFTs, and the boom happened, and then I was seeing everything glowing and growing. And I got really interested because I come from an artistic side, although I'm not an artist per se. I've never been professionally. I've done everything from music to photography to dance to painting, a bit of everything, and I love it. So when I understood what NFTs were, my brains just pop exploded, and I love the idea and I love the concept and I love what it's doing for the artist. But yeah, I saw that everything is in English, or most of it. So I'm lucky enough that I speak English, I understand it, but there's a lot of people from my community, the Spanish one, that don't speak English. So there's a big barrier there, along with the barrier of the technology of understanding it, which is still not easy to explain. So
Mhm.
so yeah, I love the community so much, and I saw that it's doing so much for the artists per se, to to grow as artists, to be able to live as artists.
Mhm.
And I thought, I'm gonna help my Spanish community, and especially I want to help women, because it's still more difficult for them.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I'm just basically teaching, educating. I'm doing like a blog. I'm gonna launch my website, which is gonna have a blog. I'm gonna do curation. I'm gonna
Mhm.
kind of take them by the hand to the artists, and then do the first steps with them. And then if they wanna keep exploring themselves, they can.
Mhm.
And if not, I can still help them and kind of like do the curation for them and upload and do the minting. But the idea is for them to learn and to try and do it on their own.
For sure. And I think that it's hard it's already hard for people that do speak English to fully understand, NFTs in the space. And there's so many questions to be answered. And I think it's beautiful that you're basically helping onboard new artists into the space that don't speak English, so it's even harder for them. So how do you go about onboarding these artists?
Um, at the start, how I started is by talking to friends. So I started telling them what I'm doing now, like why I started collecting NFTs and why I thought it was very interesting. And a lot of them already heard the word but didn't know what it was. So I'm kind of like teaching them as we speak.
Hmm.
And then from there, what I do is I try to do a little workshop to explain the basics, um, and then yes, just sit with them and do the minting, and teach them how to make a wallet, what does it mean,
Hmm.
etc. etc. All the basics of getting into the NFT world.
Nice. Do you find a lot of them on, so a lot, you started with your friends. How are you expanding? Are you looking for artists on Instagram,
Yeah.
Twitter?
I'm looking in Instagram, which is where most of the artists that don't know what an NFTs are,
Mhm.
but also on Twitter and word of mouth. So the artists that I'm onboarding, they are talking to other artists that they know. Here in Spain, there's a lot of Latin American as well artists. So lots of Argentinian, lots of people from all Latin America, and so they talk to each other, and they once they know what I'm doing, they kind of spread the word and they come to me. But obviously I'm doing like an open call
Mhm.
so that everyone that sees it can get in. But
Mhm.
again, because it's such new technology, some artists and some people just don't want to know. They just like, no, this is not for me. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm letting it be more organic, to just uh, word of mouth and people knowing someone else that they want to help, and that's easier to onboard. And then once the
Mhm.
website is out, hopefully this week or next week,
Mhm.
with the blog, I'm going to start explaining things, and then
Mhm.
that way people can just get curious about it, and maybe I can help them a bit more.
Yeah. So I think my last question is, you're putting a lot of time into this. Onboarding is not an easy task, and we need so many more people that do the same as you across the board. So why did you decide to take on this responsibility?
Good question. I think what what made me go this way instead of like maybe going some other way in the crypto space is because I love art. I love artists all my life. I've been surrounded by artists. I know how difficult it is to be an artist and just live from the art that you're doing. um, and I think this is the opportunity to be able to do it. There's a lot of artists that, for example, work in video games or working in cinema, doing art for the cinema, and they're
Mhm.
real artists, but they're not able to sell their art per se. What they want to do, and I think
Mhm.
NFTs is opening it up to all sorts of other artists that can sell their art. And so I want
Mhm.
to help those people to show the world that they are artists as well, and that they can live from that, and not from having a job in a corporation, or in an office or whatever.
Yeah. Well, beautiful. I love your mission. I hope that, we can onboard as many um, talented women in this space as possible. We need to bring that diversity. So thank you for everything that you do. We can find you on Twitter as Crypto es Cultura. She has it on her name, which is
Yes.
very helpful since I know in Spanish. I thought it was like crypto sculpture, but you're
I know.
saying crypto is culture.
Yes.
So that's really cool. That's really really cool name. Thank you, Sabrina, again for joining
Thank
us.
you.
If anyone wants to join her, or know of any artists that you know might be interested in NFT but don't know where to start or has that language barrier, she could be a really great resource for that. So thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
see you. We'll see you on the metaverse.
Yes. Bye,
All
guys.
right. Bye. All right, so now we'll go into the artist portion. I have so many questions. I mean, all four of us, I feel like, can talk for hours. Feel free to unmute yourself and just be part of the conversation. I want to start. We'll go by alphabetical order, just so there's no fight. But Imani, I mean, I met you in person several times. You're an incredible person, as well as an incredible artist. And I want to. You have such an extensive um, career, and you've worked with many artists like The Weeknd, Kanye, Lil Nas X, and just to name a few. And I want to know, how do you come up with ideas when you're in that work environment? And do you promote, or do you tell them your idea, or do you take ideas from them to get started?
Yeah, so with the music industry, it's really interesting because there's a lot of middleman game. So you're working with an artist, but you're not really working with that artist unless that musician is like very hands on, which I've met a lot of artists that are, but majority of them are not.
Mhm,
And so a lot of times when I get the song, I just listen to it on repeat, like nonstop.
mhm,
And then I kind of build my own story behind it. And what
mhm,
I do is I basically create like a word tree. So I'll write down the description and I'll be like, I want it to be this, I want it to have this type of feel to it. And I'll just take those highlighted words and then throw them in a search engine, like for illustrations, animations, photos, video. And then I just get so many visual ideas just from all these different like references that I would never be able to see without looking at them.
mhm,
Um, and so that's always kind of been my process because I strongly believe that art is a shared culture, and to me, like art is just a regurgitation of everything that I see.
mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of my inspiration process. But listen to the song to the point that it's not fun to listen to anymore is what I do.
That's yeah. I have some days that I do that too, and I don't even have to create
Yeah,
anything for the artist.
yeah, no,
um,
same.
and now, Lisa, going to you. I mean, you've had such a whirlwind this year in the NFT space. I've Every single piece on Foundation is incredible and sold out. And I think that you, just by looking at your pieces, you have a very female essence style. Like, you capture a lot of that. Female aesthetic. And I want to know, why did you decide to focus on that?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. And what I am doing and what I was posting when I discovered about NFTs was the things that I started to do in my free time after my work. And always go to do the same thing as I was doing when I was like 9. That was drawing girls with pretty dresses. So I was so stressed when I first started to draw after work because I was hated my job. And I said, what I can do to make some art that I really like. And I start drawing again because I left. I stopped drawing for like years after college and after high school. So I just find women very pretty.
Mhm.
I love to
We
dress
are.
to create. Yeah, we are. We. It's not. It's not a doubt. And I always liked fashion. And when I was a little, I wanted to be a fashion designer, but that was like, we are gonna not make a living out of it. But I also wanted to be an artist because both my parents were studied art, but they are not working as artists. Then I studied graphic design, and then I ended up working like in a 3D company, a graphic design, but not doing what I want. So I just started to draw what I want in my free time, and it was just what I was feeling. I said I want to draw pretty girls with pretty dresses, and there is no just there is no real uh, super depth motivation. Was just what was making me happy at the moment, and
Yeah.
I had to do that.
Yeah, just came to you organically. Yeah,
That's what I
that's
always
awesome.
to draw. So
Hmm. Very interesting. And Kate, I want to also, bring you in because you also play a big part. You actually collected one of Monty's pieces, and I want to know, um, how long have you been collecting, and uh, how do you go about the selection process when you're buying a piece?
So for how long I've been collecting, God, it probably over a year because I think I collected art before I even sold art. Um, like
That's the way to go.
yeah, like I'm purely an artist. Like I collect a lot. Like I have a decent collection, but like I consider myself mostly an artist. And I started by minting stuff, but I think I collected stuff before I sold anything. So definitely like over a year I've been collecting. When I pick a piece, it's like I feel like I don't even ever like sit down like, oh, I'm gonna buy art. It's more like I'll see something that really, really catches me from an artist that I love, and usually it'll take me like a day or two to think about it. Like,
Mhm.
do I really want, like, can I afford this? Like, do I really want this? But
Mhm.
usually once I start thinking about it, it's already too late.
Yeah. How do you came to contact with Imani, or like how do you find her art?
I had been following Imani for a while before this. It was the digital diaspora show that this specific piece was in.
Mhm.
That was the art show that was put together for Juneteenth. Um, and I actually initially bid on Kai, uh, her piece for that, and then got outbid. And then I had the 1.5F that I bid on that, and was like scrolling through and was struck by Imani's piece, and instantly was like, I need this. Like, wait, Imani's piece like wasn't getting bought for more than that, and it ended up being mine.
Nice.
And that
I
was
love those because I'm just like so when you're on bidding wars, um, and then the artist is like, "Oh, we have like 5 minutes." I'm like, "Oh, stop! Don't say I wanna win this war. Like, don't share it. Nobody needs to know. It's for me." So that's super cool. And I also want to know, Imani, you have your nonprofit, Jumpstart Designers. So
Mhm.
I want to give you the floor to tell us, why did you even thought about starting that nonprofit?
Yeah, so sorry. I'm still sick from Miami, by the way. So I'm gonna be like coughing a lot during this. So I've had this dream of wanting to create this nonprofit for a while, but it was always this thing of like, oh, when I get older, I'll do it. And when I got into NFTs, I started making an income outside of my client work. And so I was basically like, I was coming up on all this money, and this idea of waiting was strictly reliant on having money. Like, oh, when I get older, I'll have more money and I'll be able to do this. And I was like, I could do this now. And I posted it on Twitter and I was like, guys, I've had this dream of like wanting to make a nonprofit and create accessibility for lower income kids. Like, would you guys be supportive of that? And so many people were like, yes, yes, like do it. And so yeah, I grew up in a not very rich household, and so my mom was a single mother, and I remember I was getting into like videos, like I wanted to make music videos all the time, and so I was taking like a film class in high school and I was like set. I started working in After Effects. I was working like just making video co-pilot tutorials. And but it would be at school. I could never do it at home. So if I'm only at school for a few hours a day, but I'm spending 8, 10 hours at home, then I that's just wasted time that I'm not spending like editing. And so I was like, Mom, please, like please buy me a laptop. And we like went into Best Buy and I remember I was so excited and I like got to pick it out and then we like went to the cash register and her card declined. And it wasn't this thing of like, oh, I'll just use another card or oh, I could just use a check. Like it was just like you're not getting it. Like that was my only access of being able to get it was hopefully she had $200 worth of credit on her credit card, which she didn't. And so I like after some time, months had passed and I was still doing film. I was still like staying late at school, just editing on those computers. And my mom saved up enough money to where she was able to get me that laptop. And it got me thinking, how many other kids don't get to go back like the second time? And I just realized that like digital art is an expensive career to get into. And I feel like as kids, we were always told, like, live your dreams, be whoever you want. But that like kind of stopped when I realized that this career field required you to have money to start in it. So whether you were talented, whether you were creative, you just had the knowledge, you could not do it unless you had money. And so it kind of pushed me in this direction of being like, we're sitting here asking ourselves why there isn't color and representation in the community, yet we're seeing a demographic of people who are not in the community because of accessibility. You have a demographic of people who were raised with not generational wealth. And it like just kind of hit me like no brainer. I just have to do this. And so I've spent the majority of the money that I've made doing NFTs getting this nonprofit up. And so I just have such a gut feeling that like this could change the future of digital art. Like, not only would it just bring in more of an inclusive group of people, but I genuinely think that if we started bringing new people in that never had access before, that it would change like art itself. Like we would have new perspectives, we'd have new interpretations, new stories. And I just feel like we can change the world. Like, let's do this, you know? I get stoked about it. I get all passionate about it. And so, yeah.
I got like chills listening to the story because there's so many conversations within the space that talks about that lack of diversity and people just typically complaining or pointing it out. And I think it's because of people like you and Sabrina and Lisa and Kate that we are able to make a change and we are able to either style that conversation or taking it even further like you're doing with your nonprofit and actually providing for artists that have that inequality or they just don't have the resources. So that's really amazing. Congrats on the work that you're doing there.
Thank you.
And I would love to hear, from you, Lisa, too. What was kind of this any struggle that you got at the beginning of your career? I think we've talked previously about, balance life and being in the NFT space that takes so much of everyone's time. So, how do you go about finding that balance?
Oh, I'm kind of finding it right now because, well, when the big hit of NFTs happened, when I entered the NFTs was like late February last year. I
Mhm.
was unemployed because I got fired due to COVID. So I was like drawing all my girls all the time, making my portfolio, and I was so relaxed. I mean, okay. So this NFT thing just came to me in the best moment ever because I know I have like a lot of ex coworkers and friends which are working full time and they want to join NFTs, but they don't have the time to promote themselves and stuff. And I tell them you have to be on Twitter, but they don't have time. But at that moment I had a lot of time and a lot of drawings just made for my portfolio, which was all my style. So that merged like perfection. And well, after that, I my goal in life was to be a freelance, and I don't didn't really want to just become an just NFT artist without being a freelance because it was a goal of mine to be a freelance and I want to achieve that. And if I don't achieve being a freelance, I feel like I'm failing in something or just taking like the easy way. So I want to balance both worlds because I really like until I will be tired of it. I like to do client work, but with my style, because I never done
Mhm.
that. I always had to adapt a different style and agency work, which I don't like. So yeah, now at the moment I'm trying to balance freelance and NFTs, and for the last couple months it has been rough because I grew a lot in the last months on social media, especially thanks to Twitter and the NFT movement. But I'm not a social person, so I got burned out by social media. Even though I love to make art and to promote my art, I was like, I cannot log in Twitter for I don't know how many days, and I now trying to have it in a more healthy way. So I'm
Mhm.
logging on Twitter like a couple of times a day, or maybe more, or maybe some days I cannot. So yeah, it's different for everybody. I'm just need my. I don't want to call myself super antisocial, but because I love to be in the NFT communities, but social media is different for everybody. So
Yeah.
uh, I want to say to everybody who's feeling a little bit burnout to take a step back now and don't let 2 or 3 or 4 months, because then you need to take a 1 month break like I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
just that
No,
mental health.
and take away. Yeah, no, and take advantage of the holidays and just kind of reflecting
Yeah,
on everything that we've accomplished this year has been huge. And pace yourself too, like you said. Like, maybe you're not in it 24/7, but you check, 2, 3 times a day, and then the days that you're just overwhelmed, you take a break. But we are this is only year one, at least for me. I know some of you have been in the space for longer, but I we need to make sure to take care of each other to continue to be in it for throughout the years. And I think this is a good segue into uh, the challenge portion of this episode. Uh, since social media is a challenge, let's get started with the challenge for this Joy of NFTs. And we are back for the challenge portion of the Joy of NFTs. We're still with Imani and Lisa and Kate. And so how this works is basically one of the community members from Twitter proposed a word to inspire the artist to, in their creation. So the person who won the selected word is Loopy Art or Lopi Art. And she is another artist from Argentina, actually. And her word was fearless. So the word for this episode will be fearless. And you guys will have 10 minutes to sketch something base or inspired by that word. So I'm going to start the timer and you guys will be able to get started. So we'll start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. I know Lupi that she's the best.
Yes, I've seen her.
With such a good artist.
I've seen her on the she's always super engaging, so she was super cool.
I love her style.
I need some gum. This is how we think.
You got 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
So you guys do 3D, 2D animations. You do a variety of different styles. Which one is your favorite style?
Motion graphics, like, I love because I know it takes so much time. So I'm gonna take a picture of my hand because I need it for the thing.
Do it. Do your thing. You got 8 minutes and 54 seconds.
For me, it will be 3D because it's the thing that is still a challenge for me. 2D is also a challenge always, of course, but 3D, I still have so much to work and to learn. And it also takes an eternity to make something. And I like that. I think artists like that, to be hours and hours and hours in a thing and then see the result. I think that's universal for all artists.
So with the first portion, Lisa, is this how you typically start a piece?
Sometimes I sketch, but most of the times I don't sketch at all or make like the shittiest sketch in the world. But now I'm trying to make it nice. And if I sketch something, I make the super bad sketch, and after that I make a slightly improved sketch, and after that I spend like 3 hours making if it's a 2D, and if it's a 3D, I normally change a lot of the piece after sketching. So mostly 50-50 sometimes.
What softwares do you guys use for the main part?
Instead of 40. Those are my go-tos.
What about you, Lisa?
I use After Effects too, because I used to be a motion designer, but now I edit my videos and make the color grading there. But yeah, mostly Cinema 4D, and I also use ZBrush for sculpting and quite a few other softwares like Substance Painter, Marvelous Design for texturing, making the clothes. Sometimes one for topology, which is super boring. But and for drawing, I normally used Photoshop, but now I'm going to use, just Procreate because it's pretty nice.
What is the hardest part throughout the process?
I feel like it's creating the concept, because there's so much that goes into it that, like, I feel like there's a lot of pressure for me because, a lot of times I don't use hard cuts, and so I try to transition into each individual shot. And if I don't plan that out correctly, then it could lead to me like spending a lot of time backtracking, which sucks. So that to me, I feel like is like most time-consuming craziness.
Lisa?
It will be starting the project where I spend like a lot of time getting like the basic figure or the basic composition until I'm happy, and maybe I'm too much time on that part. That would be the hardest for me, the initial blocking of all of everything.
Mm-hmm. What do you want people to understand about you when they're looking at your art?
That's a good question. Hitting us with the bangers while we're banging. I think I want people to really see all the detail that I feel like I'm putting into it. That's something I feel like gets overlooked with motion graphics, because motion graphics is such a time-consuming like field, and so I feel like once they start recognizing the details, like, oh my god, I know that she just spent 3 hours trying to get at it, just looking at that, you know. I would say that for sure.
Kate, we can hear you again.
Yeah.
I know. We lost you for a second.
Awesome.
Lisa, what about you?
What was the question? What I want people to notice?
What do you want people to understand about you when they look at your art?
Maybe the feeling that I'm kind of trying to express in each piece, because each piece, most of them are kind of like melancholic girls, and I really try to express like that feeling in an image. So that's what I like people to perceive, like maybe that how delicate they are, because I really put a lot of effort in the small details, and want to express what I have in my head, but in like a face that is not my girls' faces. So yeah, maybe the feeling that I'm trying to.
Nice. What are you guys trying to work here? What is the initial thought on this sketch?
So what I'm thinking is like grabbing something that you want, knowing that it may hurt you. So like I think of just like a rose, like with this thorn, and it's like cutting up the hand, but it's something that they want. And I feel like, to me, a rose and flowers, I don't know, it just signifies so much to me, so much like life and stuff. And so I feel like sometimes you have to be poked and hurt by things that you're trying to grab a hold of.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, you have this very beautiful, like, symbol of life and love.
That's a beautiful answer, and you have 10 seconds left on the timer. Yes.
Oh my god!
Only no. Let me do something.
Why did you should have let me know.
And the timer is up, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, okay. So my phone is on silent. That's why it won't go off. But the timer is up. Oh my gosh. Well, this is only a 10-second glimpse into, a 10-minute glimpse into you guys' process. But I also want to give time to Lisa to tell us what are you thinking with this initial sketch? Like, what's the idea behind it?
What I was thinking about the fearless concept is that I want to express it in the face of the girl. And what I do normally is like I search a reference photo in my Pinterest and stuff, and I came up with a Versace cover that the girl is looking from behind with like a really how do you say it in English? Not challenging face,
like a daring face.
Daring face. Yeah. And that for me is like a very powerful expression. So I looked in the pictures and I thought this is more like the feeling that I like to express. And it's not finished, but I'm gonna make her in the dark, but the light is gonna cross her face, so it will be mostly the face in the light, and the rest of the body like shadows. Like it's more like the expressions in her face. Yeah.
I see Imani stressing out.
I drew over the thumb. I wasn't supposed to.
But you know what? This is totally fine. You guys will have, some time to finalize your initial sketch. So, thank you for being part of this experiment, for being part of this community, for sharing your talent with the world. I had a lot of fun talking with both of you and watching you doing, this sketch. And yeah, I'm just blessed and so grateful to share the stage with you. And thank you again for joining. And I hope you guys watching had a lot of fun and a lot of good insight into the creative process and what artists go through, and what tools do they use. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.